Hello world! I'm Skylar from JCI Malaysia. I'm the APDC Development Officer last year and this year. Welcome to JCI APDC Connect Together Future Forward. So now we have our 1994 JCI President Arnaud Godere from JCI Mauritius. First off, how things are? How are you? How things are?
Fine. I'm fine, and thanks for giving us me this opportunity to interact with APDC and all our JC friends in the area.
So I saw on the news the COVID cases there in Mauritius, it's actually not that high. It's only 300 around there. Is everything okay right there?
Well, I would say yes, it's super fine. Confinement is over, and we are, I would say, back to normal, except that there is a lockdown regarding the air flights. The country is still not open to one of our main tourism.
Oh, that's good. I mean, compared to a lot of places, we're still in lockdown. Malaysia has a very high number as well. Compared to Mauritius, we have 8,000, but we are getting back to normal very soon. Glad to hear that things are very normal over there.
We are expected our frontiers to open probably around September. And then we can welcome again one of our main industry, which is tourism.
That's good to know. I would love to visit there one day. I have never been there.
You are most welcome.
All right. So before we go on into the topic of our topic today, I'd just like to ask, when did you, Mr. President, when did you join JCI and how did you join into JCI?
Well, in fact, this year it's 40 years.
40 years.
I joined JCI in 1980. And in fact, I was looking in my life a networking of young people to help me in the job that I was starting, which is marketing, export marketing. So then I was invited to a meeting, a training, an awareness session. And I went there, and at that time we were in fact a LOM belonging to France. It is 4 years afterwards that we were affiliated to JCI, that is in 1984. And to conclude, I would say that I would never imagine that 10 years after, I would become a world president of JCI.
Only 10 years.
Yes.
Wow. You'll be an for a lot of it's a dream for a lot of JCI members to even go there.
Sure.
All right. So let's get straight to the topic today. A lot of us would be interested to know, especially for JCI members, what is the leadership styles for a lot of people, especially I'm pretty sure a lot of things have changed during this pandemic, during this COVID session. So what are the leadership styles have you seen during COVID and especially after COVID as well? What are the differences? Could you share with us?
Yes. So in times where we are fighting this invisible enemy named COVID-19, so I am pleased here to share with you a message on leadership, solidarity, friendship, and unity. COVID-19 came as a huge surprise to all of us and impacted on our lives in a way we didn't think of. With no quick fix available, the virus will be difficult to contain until a vaccine is found, which is probably in 8 months' time. So worse, in the meantime, the mutation of the virus is something else. Thus, our new normal and new found solution will not always work. Okay, so the pandemic forced us to remain at home for months, giving us the opportunity to change our lifestyle, meditate, be optimistic and positive, and probably go back to the basics of life. On to our family, we bonded with our kids, discovered various skills like me, cooking, teaching, gardening, and so on. So we declustered our lives and homes and took time to reflect on ourselves, on how to improve the different aspects of life and how to be better version of ourselves. And on a community basis, we probably got to know more our neighbors and people living in our respective area, to know them better and with more solidarity, sharing among people of the neighborhood. And we realize the importance of a kitchen garden and what agriculture means for a generation of fast food lovers like us, McDonald's, Kentucky, and so on. So on the business side, I saw that we grasped the key role of e-commerce, working from home, working alone from away from our co-workers. And we all are now Zooming, Skyping, WhatsApping to keep the business going. This also made us realize how fragile our business is, our companies, banks, and even the country as a whole, and the economy. So with today the risk of many companies going bankrupt, reducing staff, many are worried of losing their jobs, of having their salary being reduced. And in Mauritius, for example, we see our hotel industry, like in many other countries, our hotel industry and auxiliaries suddenly coming to a stop. So who would have imagined a few months ago, at the beginning of the year, such a disaster, thousands of jobs at stake, huge economic blow, and therefore we even see on the world international scene, recession is there everywhere. Economic growth is now negative, huge debts, and even we are talking about Cold War coming back. And all this, I believe, globalization seems to be at stake today. And the question we can ask ourselves, Skylar, is whether we are not in an apocalyptic era. There are certain people predicting that this is only the start, and we are exposed to a complete chaos of what they call a biblical proportion, which is amazing. So reality is that at one point of view, we will have to live with the virus among us, and whether a vaccine is found or not. Now we JCs, we are slowly but surely adapting ourselves to the new normal. Who would have thought about participating in a virtual JCI area conference, for example, the European conference in Ireland a few weeks ago? I was on stage there virtually at the opening ceremony. This is for us JCs our new audio, whether distance or not. And the spirit and gesture of solidarity, friendship, and fellowship among JCs is more than ever living in spite of this pandemic. Now, in this crisis, we have witnessed different leadership styles, from political leaders, business leaders, NGO leaders. So everyone attended to their responsibility. So we witness placing their countries first, their country's economy first, before the lives of their people. and they start denigrate the scientific and health advice. We've seen this in the US and in Brazil, and we know the outcome. But on the other hand, we witness the organized and prudent, emphatic responses of countries such as Korea, New Zealand, Finland, and even my country, Mauritius. And interesting to note that the 5 top performing countries, I would say, in the world that managed to alleviate this and control the spread have been, it's amazing, women leaders. We've seen New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, Finland, Sanaman, Germany, Angela Merkel, and Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen. They displayed, those ladies, empathy and firm focus on the well-being of their populations. They prove that leadership is indeed an art of mobilizing others to want the I would say to struggle for shared aspirations. And in time of crisis, great leadership emerges, and I think history has proved it in the past. So democracy helps, but it's not the deciding factor. What matters most is what kind of leader is in place, where his priority lies, not to forget the well-being of the populace or the interests of small groups. As you all know, there are various leadership styles: autocratic, which is the opposite of democratic; directive, laissez-faire, a let them do attitude; strategic leadership, transformational leadership, among many others. And in JCI, I remember in the 80s and 90s, we came across and adopted the concept of vanguard leader. So vanguard leader is the one whose style was to act firmly, to act quickly, with clear justification and giving impressive results in any particular situation. Now, dealing with this COVID-19, the right balance has to be found between, one, the exercise of leadership and the exercise of power. Exercise of leadership, exercise of power. Now, we need to ask ourselves, does a command and control or a top-down leadership style like in the military words? Well, leaders are tempted in this COVID period to adopt such a style, but obviously it's not recommended. However, a directive style of leadership is probably the most appropriate one, with a swift and quick decision making. Also, it requires transparency and the humility to acknowledge one's mistakes, continuous learning and adjustment, and it should be accompanied by a concern for people, for the nation well-being and compassion, resulting in an endeavor to alleviate suffering and misery. So in this pandemic time, we all have to change and adapt, accept and adjust our way of living. Thus, the adaptive change brings us to reset our priorities, our lifestyle, our mindset. It cannot be brought by legislation, but a degree of self-transformation. So our leaders have to set the example and be role models, showing trust, care, and respect, and creating an environment where people feel they are valued. Take an example, the case of WHF work from home, which has become the norm of many today, requiring a different mindset. Like the working mother who has to cater for her kids while working from home. So working from home requires a management style characterized by a high level of trust and clearly defined outputs, both in terms of quality and the volume of outputs, quantity, but no micromanagement allowed. So another example is what we JCs have been exploring and doing since the start of the pandemic, like the case today with you from APDC. Virtual meeting, training, conference, and even happy hour. We have used, therefore, IT tools such as Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, and others to conduct these virtual meetings. And many found themselves, this is very interesting, I have noticed it, many JCs found themselves attending meetings, training, seminars, conferences, or talk in different corners of the world in just one day. In the morning, they are in Africa, and then going to Europe, having happy hour in Turkey. So this is how the life of JCs seems to, with this new technology. So we are traveling globally by remaining seated in the comfort of our home. And therefore, this is something fantastic. Like I say, you have breakfast in Europe, lunch in Asia, coffee in America, and dinner in the Americas without no traveling costs and without jet lag. This is for us today our new style, lifestyles, which is set for JCs in this COVID and post-COVID period. And this is not only developing our skills, own skill, and we have been able to attend worldwide events like JCI area conferences. I remember 2 weeks ago, I was attending in European conference in Ireland, even being in the opening ceremony like many of our colleagues. And I think also we are interchanging with JCI official, JCI president, JCI past president, which was not the case before as often as we can, by just connect by click on our PC or iPad or whatever, the phone. So today JCI, I think, is reinventing itself. Question is, are we not moving towards a more decentralized leadership where our existing model is being laid down very flat? How long we will maintain this new style? Are we going to adopt this new style? And how ready and engaged are we to implement this in our new life? Is this going to help increase our visibility, increase our membership, and increase our impact? So only the future can tell Skylar. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the sharing. You shared some very insightful knowledge and things that I have not known, that each country that actually rise from all this during this pandemic. And one thing you shared, especially attract my attention, is that directive leaderships that could make decision quick and fast and have gathered people around. I think this is quite fairly true, because as I can see from around me, a lot of business has changed, and we have to change. It's not because we want to change, but during this pandemic, traditional business, I had my own store selling my products. People come and buy. I just open my shop every day. But now, as traditional business, they have to put our products online and ship our stuff to whoever wants it, even overseas. This opened up so many new opportunities, and this will not happen without a directive leadership. I think this is quite very true, that those who succeed, success has this leadership in them. Thank you for sharing, Mr. President. Just curious, 20 years ago when you were the president, what was the leadership style comparing to now, though? Well, is there any difference, or has it been changed?
Well, I would say that the leadership style was more sort of a teamwork, in a very good team spirit, the JCI spirit, and following a bit the philosophy behind our creed. Today, we tend to lose a bit track of what is embedded in our creed. And it was, I would say in 1994, when I was president, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of JCI International, 1944, 1994, 50 years of existence. And also was an opportunity to go back to basics of the roots of the organization, to understand better. So it was more, I would say, a team with a firm leadership of knowledge where the organization were heading with the strategic planning committee.
So that was the leadership back then. Do you see it now here today that we still need the same kind of leadership styles?
We didn't have the tools at IT tools that there was. So connectivity, networking was a challenge. And internet was just emerging. Like, you know, when I was traveling, I wake up at night, under the doors of my hotel room, there was a lot of fax from the headquarters. So there was not the telephone where you could read your mails and everything. So that's a major change. So I think the COVID and what you are doing, I salute you and congratulate the APDC for this, is an opportunity to show that we can connect ourselves faster now. This is what I said in my message. Are we going to learn these lessons and continue this afterwards? Or are we going to, when things will be back to normal, to go back to where we were before? So we learn with IT tools, Zoom, Skype and everything, how fast we can connect ourselves and reach ourselves, share whatever corner of the world we are. Last week, I got a message from Puerto Rico, not Puerto Rico, but Dominican Republic. They're organizing a meeting and they wanted to get a short film from me. So that's something that wouldn't exist before. We past world president, we were in a drawer, comfortably, you know, retiring. But today, it's amazing how fast we are being solicited and asked, requested, which with pleasure we do, of reconnecting to the organization. Us, many are reconnecting, and I think there is some lessons to be taught there, and which we can bring the organization further up.
Thank you. So I guess from what you mentioned, that the leadership style hasn't really changed that much during 10 years ago until now. It's simply because we still need the same kind of leadership style, but it's the technology has changed that we need to adapt to. Whether back then when we don't really have internet, even though you have to dial in, it's a hassle to dial in, whereas now it's just one click away to connect to people all around the world, where you don't need to sit on an airplane for hours and hours just to meet that people. What we have seen in movies where you stand inside a meeting room or sit inside a meeting room with empty chairs and you just turn on a laptop and you will be able to meet with every single people around the world just for meeting. And that saves a lot of time. I think that's changed. But other than that, we still need the same kind of leadership to lead us until today. All right. Mr. President, if you don't mind asking, what do you do for a living, and what has changed for you before and after the pandemic in your business?
Yes, I would. I am been working 25 years in the oil business in Shell, and now I am a consultant for business. And what I've seen is that you are more. It's amazing this. You are more connected to the world than before, because everybody needs your expertise, needs your knowledge, and therefore this is done in a manner which is very sort of modern, which is progressive, and I see more openness in despite that our borders are locked, but more openness to business opportunities, because there is a lot of outside there request and people asking. For example, I didn't expect a few weeks ago to have an interview with an Italian TV, and this sort of helped the business a lot and showed more openness, more openness.
Now, since we talked about business opportunity, I had one request to ask this question. Since we are all looking for business opportunity during this pandemic to expand our business, to change our business, to looking for a way to sustain our living, one question that popped up is that, could you share one business opportunity or a few business opportunity that you see in Mauritius that we could actually try to tap into, or what has opened up for demand in Mauritius?
Well, to be very honest with you, today, like in many countries, our country is completely isolated in a sense, because we don't have tourists coming. We don't have business people coming. Our offshore business also is suffering, but the opportunity arises a lot in terms of agriculture, in terms of food, in terms of farming. So this is an opportunity that came up, that is coming back again, and so you can see today in every corner of the island, people are planting vegetables, fruits, etc., and waiting for again business to come back. So this is a real opportunity for us. Like I said at the beginning, every country has gone back on itself, and with less people, families, they realize that they need to self-sustain themselves. So it's important, therefore, that they look after first the agriculture, the food of their respective families.
Mm-hmm. Right. When we talk about business opportunity in Mauritius, in my mind personally, first thing came up to me was tourism. Well, like you mentioned before, Mauritius, it's a beautiful place. When I looked up online Mauritius, it showed me so many beautiful islands. And I think one of the biggest attractions from Mauritius is the islands, the beautiful islands. However, during this pandemic, I'm pretty sure a lot of us are not allowed to go, and we really wish to go. What do you see has changes in the tourism in Mauritius, and how did they adapt to all these changes during this pandemic where people cannot visit it?
Well, to be honest with you, this is the sector which has most suffered and is still suffering from the pandemic. No, the country is completely closed, no airplane in, no tourists in for the past 3 months. We are talking about negative growth in these hotels, in this industry. Workers, employees from hotels, many have lost their jobs. Many have accepted to have their salary decreased by half. They are only opening to Mauritians, but Mauritians, they want to fill all the hotels and even at attractive prices. So it's a very sad situation, and we are not the only country in such this. But since tourism contribute to 25% of the gross domestic product of the country, you can imagine the impact. So now the government, the authorities are thinking of reopening up since there are no COVID cases in Mauritius as such, except imported, in September, they are thinking of reopening up probably. So now when tourists will come to the island, it will be a lot of control. Test at the airport, and before coming in hotel, they are even saying that they won't be allowed to move out of the hotel. They will have to remain inside. So we don't know how this will look like afterwards, but that will be a new normal. And if you think also about all the problems in Europe, in Asia, or whatever else, so we are thinking whether we will recover back the number of tourism that we will normally have. But we expect probably in 2 years' time to be really back to real normal situation. But now I can tell you it's a very, very sad situation and picture.
I can personally relate to that because in Malaysia, we do also lost a lot of fundings from tourism.
Yes.
Even we try to grow our agriculture as well because as you mentioned that we need to sustain ourselves. We realize
Exactly.
that during this pandemic, we cannot do a lot of things. Cannot do a lot of trading, so we need to do a lot to sustain ourselves. One fun fact that in Malaysia is that we import a lot of rice, even though we have rice ourselves, but we import a lot of rice. We see a huge shortage of rice, and which this makes us realize that wow, we need to really back up on our food, our agriculture, so that in the next future, in the near future, if anything's happened, this is really something that we need to consider. And
in terms of rice, we have the same problem here because we import rice from India. Majority is being imported from India, and now India they have stopped exporting. They want to self-sustain for their own population, and which puts us in a situation we have to get other, because we don't grow rice here. We grow sugarcane, but not rice. So, and you know, in Mauritius, we import everything, and it's all in dollars. And if you see also the rate of the dollar now to the rupee, it's gone very up, and which makes imports very expensive, and inflation is going up and up.
but one thing I realized different is that Mauritius pays 25% of the income from tourism, which I'm pretty sure that you will turn over and rise with tourism once over again, faster than any other place in the world, faster than Malaysia at least, because this is one of the main
Hopefully,
income.
you are right. Hopefully.
So another question I had is that how do we prepare ourselves for the next pandemic, for the next crisis, for as an individual, as a leader? How do we prepare ourselves to save our country, to save our organizations from suffering more if things like this happen again?
It's a very good question. I think this pandemic, this COVID-19, has proved that we are very weak. We human beings, we are very weak. We are very vulnerable, and things like COVID, which came as a surprise, makes us, you know, even vulnerable. Therefore, we are in a situation where we are waiting for a vaccine. We don't know, in 12 months, in 18 months, it will come. But having said that, we will have to live with this virus. And therefore, we can expect afterwards, in so many X years, another virus if it comes, even worse. Even now we are getting worried about the what they call the second wave of this one. The second wave. We've seen in many countries that there are possibilities of second wave. So we have to first of all, get the lessons about what has happened up to now. Take lessons about the way we live, the way we interact with others, our businesses, our family, everything. We have to understand, to judge, to take the lessons, what has happened, how far it has impacted on our lives. And we are not living the same way, and we are not sort of exchanging, interacting with our friends, our colleagues, our whatever, the same manner. Something has changed in our life. And therefore, we have to prepare ourselves for the future in terms of, number one, our health. Our health, we have to be very prudent about it. Our environment that we live, so we have sanitizer, we clean, we disinfect and everything. And also to the nature. Once we were confined at home, the nature has come back. We have seen here in Mauritius, for example, the water in the sea comes back to be blue again, clean again. The birds are singing merrily. The carbon in the air is going down. We have fresh air. So all these are lessons that we have not to forget. For example, I have spoken about vegetables, fruits, and all that. Well, it was a real panic when COVID started, not only here, but I'm sure elsewhere, going to supermarkets and everything, because what about the food? This is the basics that we need. So I believe our leaders have to therefore take lessons and try to work on plans, and as well as we in our families, in our companies, and everywhere, to see that we don't get such beaten up like that in the future. And I think many major challenges ahead, many worldwide challenges ahead. Here in Mauritius, we've seen that the reserves in our central banks have to be utilized. It's never happened before, in order to pay debts, imports and everything. There has been a very huge debate on that. So what we've seen is the way we used to do things have changed, and there are new now approaches that maybe we didn't have imagined before, that has to be put in place. And it has to be done very fast, swiftly.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think learning lesson is very, very important. And this pandemic has been a very, very big lesson for all of us. And it has changed us a lot. Not sure if it will prepare for us for the future that's unexpected. From what I know, even the states in the United States of America, they have actually prepared a huge sum of this personal protective equipment for their country. However, even though they have prepared a large amount of it during this pandemic, it's still not enough. This has taught us that yes, we still need to prepare. We need to learn lessons from our past. Even though it's not enough, imagine if they did not have that at all, things could have gone much worse in America. And it also helped us realize that the basic needs that we need is very important for us. Like you mentioned, agriculture, farming, food, these are all the basic stuff. We could forego everything, our business, this and that. We can earn less. People are willing to work for just enough for them to pass by the day, buy their foods, hopefully not to get laid off, retrenched, but even just a little bit of money for them to move on their life, it's enough. And we have realized and learned that I'm pretty sure a lot of countries would have had backup plans in the future in case something like this happened, that they can be sustainable, as you mentioned. I think this is a very great lesson that we have to learn. Okay. All right. One last question for Mr. President. What do you have on the comment of us going online, everything online, and not able to meet? What do you think about the future of this online meetings, online conference, everything online? What's your comment on that?
Well, I would like, first of all, to congratulate JCI, President Itai Maniere, and the board of directors for having very fast and swiftly move into this virtual world for JCI. I see that even world president, he calls himself JCI virtual president, which is funny because in fact he's managing at his home there in Harare. So the question is, it's working. It's working. We are connecting, and people are JCs are very excited about organizing these meetings, this training, these conferences. Like I said, we would have imagined to have a conference like in Panama, they did something. Europe, Dublin 2 weeks ago, in Asia, Africa. So we are all sort of keeping the organization alive and ongoing, which is great, by using those IT tools, those facilities of Zoom, of FaceTime, WhatsApp, and so on. So the connectivity really is great. It's very easy and is working. And what is most important is delivering results, because when you see the attendance, it's a lot. It's very good attendance, and it's worldwide. It's not sort of in only zones, which is a change. It's a change. Well, physically meeting people is different. If we go, we travel, we meet, we connect, we talk, we discuss, we have fun, we have a beer, we go to a pub and all that. This is something really different. It creates a stronger bonding, a good human touch, sharing, and so on. But we don't have any other choice. So this is why I think we should congratulate our organization, APDC, particularly today, for sort of keeping the organization alive, discussing about subjects that is really pertinent on the leadership side, what kind of leadership we want for the organization, for the world, what are we doing good, what are we doing bad, what can be improved, etc. And once we go really back to normal, we should sort of think whether these tools should not be continued to be utilized the way it has been during the pandemic, the COVID-19. Because this is new, this is exciting. It's bring back, like me, old president back in the front as a front line in the light of the organization. And I can see my other colleagues also. I have never seen post-world president so active like that, because we have a sort of group and we talk to each other, and everyone is busy doing this there. Yesterday I saw Samin also, he shared a video about an interview he made in Europe. So these are things that really is very great for us. And hopefully, I hope the organization will grow, will have its raison d'etre, continue to have its raison d'etre, because it's one of the most wonderful organizations for young people, young active citizens. And it's very valuable. And we treasure it very well. And I think yesterday we were celebrating the anniversary of one of our founders, Henry Gisinde. One of our really, the one that really is why we are here today after so many years. So let's hope the best and prepare for the worst if the worst will happen again.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Now there you have it. Leader who lead by example. I've known a lot of seniors who are not comfortable with going online, but our president right here is not afraid to move on, to learn new stuff from the new technology, whatever we have from the facts we had before to now going online for meetings all around the world. And our president right here is doing it. Lead by example, a very directive leadership he is. Now, Mr. President, if you were to give one advice to our viewers, especially to JCI members, what would the advice you would give?
Be positive, stay positive, and act positive.
There you have it. Be positive, positive, positive all the way.
All the way.
Yes, exactly. The same message as we have throughout JCI. We need to be positive, and hopefully things will be better. Best is yet to come. Whatever challenges come our way, we will stay positive and things will come and positive changes will come. All right, thank you. There you have it. Thank you, Mr. President, for joining us and letting us know your views and thoughts on leadership styles before and after this COVID pandemic session. You share a lot of insights for us, very knowledgeable. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. That's it for us today. Dear members, please keep streaming to www.jciapdc.com and do follow our Facebook page for more and more exciting content. Bye now.